This is Glambition Radio, episode number 242, 2021, Liberation.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Glambition Radio.
Glambition Radio.
Glambition Radio.
Glambition Radio.
Glambition Radio.
Glambition Radio.
Welcome to Glambition Radio. I am your host, Allie Brown. I'm an entrepreneur, mentor, investor, and founder of The Trust, the modern premier network for 7- and 8-figure women leaders. I love thinking big, doing different, and exploring ideas that disrupt the status quo, especially when it comes to women, because we are creating the new models for leadership, business success, making money, and changing the world. And hey, we're doing it with style. So let's go. Welcome to 2021. While there is still a dissonance, I would say, in the music, we feel the harmony approaching. That's the great news. But we are not through the tunnel yet. And that's what this show is about today. The good, the bad, the ugly, and then the incredible good on the other side. And I also hereby declare this counts as part 2 of my solo episode this past fall, which was The Big Mess in the Middle. If you want to go back and hear that one, it was episode 225, and it was a damn good one, if I do say so. It really set the stage for what to expect over the next several months. It's still very relevant and gives a lot of kind of, I think, foundational information that would be good to hear before you further go into this year. I'll just say that. We'll put the link in the show notes for you. And thank you for all your questions and requested talking points for this show from the callouts I made on social a few weeks ago. Some of them are going to be addressed with the content on this episode, but the good news is I received so many really good ones that I'm going to do an entire bonus Q&A episode right after this one that dives into many of them that you submitted. And at the end of this show, I'll give you a bit of a preview what's to come. I'm going to throw in some other juicy information on that show. There was so much to cover. And, you know, here we go again. We just wrapped up a damn heavy year, a fucking scary year. Excuse my French. But, you know, even for those who fared very well, it came with many new challenges and circumstances that they needed to navigate through, and a lot of personal realizations as well. And for me, it was a hard year in many ways. You see, 2020 was supposed to be the year, and I've said this on many shows before and kind of joked about it, but you know, I like having a plan. I like things going to the plan. I like things going to the plan exactly how I planned them to go to the plan. I don't love surprises. So I'm the friend that pulls you aside and whispers in your ear, if you ever throw me a surprise party, I will turn around, I will walk out and not return your call. Like, that's me, you know? And I say that, but I'm also pretty adaptable. I thought I was. Maybe that's the weird thing. I thought I was. You know, the only constant is change. I know that. I've done it before. I've switched gears quickly. And I started off this year having this feeling, well, this too shall pass. And at first, you know, I think for many of us, it did, right? We're okay in the spring when all this stuff hit and the weirdness started. And during the lockdown here in the spring, it was strange, but I enjoyed the cozy time with my family, the quietness, the calmness, the closeness with my kids. You know, we were all watching live stream dance parties with DJ Nice or D Nice or whoever he is. I don't know. He's great music if you follow him on Instagram. I learned to bake, and we had that feeling like, hey, we're all in this together, a few weeks to flatten the curve. Let's do this. I bought a compost bin that I haven't looked at in several months, and I'm kind of scared. And then into the summer, you know, I was still even okay. I stayed positive with family road trips. We took a few trips back to the beach in Cali. We just worked and homeschooled from there. I was just vibing high, staying positive. You know, I was sure come fall, we'd be seeing things get back to normal, or people at least insisting like, okay, it's time to get back to normal. And then going to the fall again, realized that none of this nonsense was going away. Because let's be frank, I mean, one of the reasons is that some of our leaders don't want it to go away. And I became a bit despondent, Business was chugging along, but even Brett could tell my mood was kind of flat. The clear visions for both my company and our family that I had at the beginning of the year, they really started to blur. And I began second guessing things, wondering, was this the right year to launch the trust? Was this the right year to make plans for this and do that and invest in this and just kind of everything? And I had an underlying anger, to be honest, at where things were going in our country, a fear I've never had before for this scary new world that I was going to be raising children in. I was irritated that our schools still were not insisting on opening and being normal for the children. I mean, of all this, I'm just like, for God's sake, let's leave the kids out of this, right? And I had a sadness in that clearly international travel, the global lifestyle we've been working toward would never quite be the same. And also realizing I had a bit of a pandemic podge, didn't help either. I was a little podgy and I went to put on my fall skinny jeans. So all this stuff was just, kind of mounting up. And a few more unimaginable things happened this year. And I don't share everything publicly. I think you all know I'm a pretty private person. Lost a few friends this year. We don't know anyone who's died from COVID, but we do know several who have died from cancer and suicide. One man we knew well here in town violently ended his own life, leaving his wife and daughter behind. It was completely unexpected. And from someone we've come to know as this happy, positive guy. And I mean, just, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty. So this year was a lot of stuff like this that we can't make up. And we're just supposed to keep going, right? Just grin and bear it. Just keep it together. Keep the business going. Keep making money. Take care of your family. Homeschool the kids. Maintain your marriage. Eat healthy. Work out. Make sure grandma's taking her meds and she's wearing her mask at Safeway. I mean, just everything. And for the first time ever, I think for me personally, instead of saying, stop feeling this way, you have so much to be thankful for, you're just feeling sorry for yourself, stay positive. You know what? I gave myself permission to feel it. Boy, did I freaking feel it. I felt it all. I felt it for myself. I felt it for the world. I mourned, I wallowed, I cried, I was pissed. I let it move through me. And I gave myself incredible grace. Not all of this happened at once, by the way. For my sake and everyone around me. It came in waves. Like there were these waves of processing it. And I'd love to hear from you if that was the same thing for you. There were waves. And I asked Brett and my children for help. I asked them to give me grace as well. I gave myself and my entire team the last 2 weeks off of the year paid to enjoy the holidays and to transition into a new year. And literally, when I woke up on January 1st, it was as if a switch flipped because I felt the gifts. I saw the huge light at the end of the tunnel. And suddenly, I truly, deeply felt the power that I had gained from this past year in who I had become. And I can truly tell you now that both my company and I personally are built for all seasons. I don't have all the answers, but I see the way through. And if you don't feel there yet, this show's for you. Because you need to give yourself the grace and be happy in that there will be better energies to help support you more in this new year. And I'm going to share a bit of info that I learned from my friend Tanya Gabrielle, who is a brilliant astronumerologist. This is just fascinating. So last year, let's just look at the numbers today. There's a lot of information, but let's just look at the numbers, which is really cool. 2020 was a universal 4-year, symbolic of responsibility, order, and work. A year of restriction, designed for us to discover our inner resources. A year of finding innovative ways to live fully in the midst of lockdowns and limitations. But 2021, it's a year of liberation, truth, and joy. So many of you know this, that after thousands of years, as of December 21st, we have entered the new age of Aquarius. And whenever I hear that, I feel like belting out the song from the Fifth Dimension. That was, when I grew up, there's a 70s song, maybe it was 60s. It was the age of Aquarius, age of Aquarius. And I think it was also the 70s musical Hair, which I never saw. I was little at the time, but I always just thought the song was cool. I didn't understand. But it's real. It's a time now we're in. And we are now in a time where humans on Earth are going through a dramatic evolution. It's a positive evolution that ascends from being mere three-dimensional beings into fifth-dimensional beings. For those of us who've done a lot of personal work and worked on becoming, more conscious, more spiritual, more in tune with Source, it's been easier than for some others. And on a grander scale, we're witnessing this same struggle for the entire world and its outdated systems that don't want to evolve. They're kicking and screaming. So to break it down, 3D is the physical world we live in, the one you can, right? See, smell, hear, taste, touch, right? The evidence. 5D is our higher selves. It's the energy. It's the source. It's the magic. It's when we're in that flow. It's sometimes the things we can't explain. It's providence. It's magic. It's that magic connection we have to that higher self, the higher power, our God, our universe, just everything just so beautiful and good and expansive in the world that is so hard to explain. And I have such a hard time describing this, so I'm actually going to quote from a book I recommend. If you'd like to learn more about this, it's called Waking Up in 5D, A Practical Guide to Multidimensional Transformation. It's by Maureen St. Germain. It actually came out several years ago, well 2017, before I didn't even know about this stuff until this year. And it really explains things well. This book, when I picked it up, helped me get my head around the year. I also like how it gives very practical tips to manage all the energies around the ascension, including the physical symptoms many are experiencing. If you've had chronic health issues, they may be exacerbated lately, trouble sleeping, all kinds of things that I know that I just thought were premenopause. This is just my year, right? It's all happening. And it had some great practical tips also to just snap yourself out of fear, because that's 3D. 5D is fearless. 5D is like heaven on earth. So let me just read this one paragraph from the back cover that'll give you a great overview. We are all transitioning from the narrowly focused and polarized awareness of the third dimension and waking up to the higher vibrations and abilities of the fifth dimension. Each of us has already experienced 5D. Think about your most memorable and uplifting experiences of the recent past, where everything went well, interactions were harmonious and loving, and all felt blissful and happy. That's 5D. For some, the shift is sudden and permanent, but for many of us, the change is gradual, coming in fleeting moments and waves. In this Ascension Manual, spiritual teacher Maureen St. Germain explains how to shift your energetic patterns and choose to permanently anchor yourself in the joy, love, and kindness of 5D. And gosh, I just get happy reading about it. It's kind of where we've all wanted to go in our minds and wanted it to be real forever and real when we walk out the door. I mean, and when you go there, you need to remember that is truth. That feeling is the truth. You are a child of God. God is within you. So highly recommend that book if you'd like kind of a primer on everything going on. Now, I do occasionally have a friend or client go, hey, is this the same as 5G? Dear Lord, no, this is not. Okay, 5G are the cell phone towers that are going to fry our brains, and that's another show. Okay, but isn't it funny? Isn't it wild? We have these two opposing forces, right? There's 5D lifting us up, and there's 5G, which is basically designed to start tracking us. And it's the layers of complexity and polarity that are happening right now and how they all relate. It fascinates me. It keeps me up at night. I'm enchanted. I'm scared all at the same time. Like this is the novel that no one could write You couldn't make this all up. So bottom line is the struggle's real. I mean, on the earth plane in 3D, the outdated patriarchal power structures are crumbling. Leaders who do not have our true well-being in mind are fast forwarding their agendas using the pandemic as the platform. We see corruption being exposed on a massive scale, right? So that's where we're seeing light. The cracks are appearing. We're seeing the corruption. We're hearing the news, maybe not on the mainstream. By the way, if that's all you watch, you don't know 3/4 what's really going on. And there's some really good stuff happening. Messy, but good. See, this whole transition is about the bad stuff coming out to be fixed, healed, but man, it's a mess. It's just going to be a mess for a while. And we are deciding, we the people are deciding how much more do we want to tolerate from these systems, like the dual party political system. Does anyone think this is a good idea anymore? There's no way to polarize these topics and things anymore. Like it just doesn't work. And these people, these leaders that we have elected, we think, are the biggest hypocrites there are. And we've been lied to, and just so many things. No matter where you stand politically, you know that there's absolute corruption and nonsense that has been building up for decades and decades and decades in our country, in many of your countries, if you're listening in other places. And so, we're deciding how much we're going to tolerate before we say no more, before we fight back. And here's the part that I have had trouble with, and I still have trouble with, and have to remind myself. And I first heard this from Lori Ladd, Ladd. She's someone great that I follow on Instagram. She gives calming meditations around the ascension, really cool stuff. And she said, in much more elegant language than I'm going to portray it right now, but it's not our job to wake someone up. I have trouble with that. I feel it is my job. It's not our job to wake them up. Everyone is on their own awakening timeline. That's what I heard her say, and it stayed with me. And man, that pissed me off because I think it's my job to wake them up, but it's not. It is not your job to wake them up. It's not my job to wake them up because we don't know what's going to wake them up. And the conversation's different. What they need to hear is different. How they need to experience that is different. And so that pissed me off, but it also gave me peace because it's, all you could do is do your part. You do you. And I'm sure this year also you've discovered friends that are open to conversation and friends that are not open to conversation. And everyone's just got to do themselves and get into 2021. Now, I've been talking about a lot of meta stuff, right? The world and the country and power structures and leaders and corruption. Now bring this all back to you now. Put that aside for a second. But it's a lot of the same struggle. What we're seeing on a global scale is an exact mirror or reflection or amplification of what's happening for ourselves on a personal scale. Bring this back to you now. How much do you want to tolerate in your own life? What doesn't work for you anymore? What have you not moved through that should have been moved through by now? What is erupted to be dealt with or healed? What doesn't make you happy anymore? What never worked anyway, but you tolerated it or never really looked at it because it was easier? This was a huge epiphany for me because I realized what I was going on within me. This whole struggle this year, this kind of push-pull was a mirror of the world and vice versa. And every day now, once I broke through this, I am having downloads every day. Every night, I feel my frequency is just being raised higher and higher and higher at these higher levels all the time. Right before we went on break for the holidays, my trust members and I gathered for our final Zoom boardroom. This is our monthly gathering on Zoom. We could see each other. We often have a topic of discussion. We get to catch up on each other's businesses. It's that glue that keeps us connected between the other events. By the way, we have an event coming up in March in Miami. We're doing it. Unless the cops are blocking me out, I'm having an event in Miami in March. Would love to see you there. Jointhethrust.org. This is our group of 7- and 8-figure women entrepreneurs. But something interesting is happening with that group, and I'll share that with you in a minute. But jointhethrust.org. By the way, if you know a woman who's kind of outgrown the other masterminds or they just can't deal the men's groups, one of my clients calls it the sausage fest. we're very, very different. And the conversation that's happening there that's so different is around the ascension. It's around instinct, intuition, and owning ourselves from a whole new place at this level of business. This is becoming something that's increasingly hard to describe. I hope 2021 for me is the year of describing actually what the trust is becoming. It's not just a business group. So during this discussion, that was really evident because I had every woman come to this call to share their biggest piece of wisdom that they had acquired from 2020. Overall, the theme was COVID was a catalyst for some to discover where they really needed to be, for others to put the pedal to the metal for the business model they had. It was the right place at the right time. For some to make immense personal changes. For some of them, these changes happened easily. Some of them, they went kicking and screaming and then landed where they need to be and said, oh my God, this is so much better. So I'm going to give you their 12 gifts of 2020 from my trust members. These are the 12 pieces of wisdom that I know that you can take right now and make something from it. The first is instinct, intuition, and owning it from that place. Decisions that didn't make sense on paper, but felt so right. That's what one of them said. Moving into a place of making these decisions, maybe putting the spreadsheet aside and feeling into it. This is the 5D. Feeling into the wisdom of your body, feeling into who you have become and what she needs right now, and what your clients have become and what they need right now, and owning the decision from that place without backtracking or double guessing yourself. You will be supported. That is the energy of 2021. That's the difference. That right now, and especially January, from what I understand, the energies in January are so positive. Like it's like a wave that if you start making these decisions and making these moves and feeling this power, that wave's going to carry you. And this summer we did a lot of boogie boarding, which I love because it's kind of non-committal. You don't need to get up on your feet and fall, and you just hang out on the board. And when you really do catch that wave, I mean, it's effortless. Like you just hold on, but you got to be in that right place. And you got to watch the waves and you got to think about it a bit, but then it'll carry you. So once you make your move, do a little kicking, get in the right spot, you will be supported. That is what's happening in January. Second gift of 2020, the courage to speak what you stand for and be okay with knowing some of your followers aren't on board and they're going to disappear. I love when people tell you, by the way, I'm going to unfollow you now, and that doesn't really happen to me much, but in some people it does. And I love that they have to announce that they're unfollowing. I just think it's funny. So courage to really say, you know what? I'm saying what I'm feeling because it hurts more not to say it. Like I am going to explode inside if I don't say this. And I will feel even like I'm not doing my job if I don't say this. And this was great to see. And we have members in the trust from many different types of perspectives, cultures, political systems. I mean, we have several international members, and everyone's seen this year differently. And I honor that. How we see things in Arizona about this past year and how things have been done are probably a lot different than some people in New York, what they've witnessed and seen, or California, and someone, overseas in a country where they're used to this kind of thing. Or maybe someone who's been through a terrible medical situation, right? They're going to see this all differently too. We all have to see this from where we are at, but speak up from where you're at, right? Speak up from where you're at. Just know, my little 2 cents to throw in here is know where some other people are coming from. No one wants people to die. No one wants the world to fall apart. No one wants children to suffer. But we all see the best decisions we think should be made through our lens on who we are from what we've experienced and what we're aware of. I think that's part of the 5D as well. It's this multidimensional perspective. 3D is that black and white, right and wrong. By the way, that's why we're being pitted against each other. Group to group and then subgroup to subgroup. And I mean, there's so many layers to this. I can't even go into that today. But that courage is gift number 2. I also have one of our members, quite sassy. She's saying, listen, her industry is in a gray area that could, you could make a case for it being essential. But she said this time around, they just locked her state down again and she's just had it. She's looking to move. And she just said, come arrest me, whatever, I'm staying open. Like she's done. And so, the courage to just say, you know what, I'm keeping the damn business open. I'm not laying off these employees. Our people need our services for their health. And here it is. Boom. Whoop, there it is. Okay. Gift number 3, protect the vision even when outside circumstances aren't supportive at face value. This isn't easy. This is where I kind of got fuzzy, got a little funky dunky. I realized I was not protecting the vision. I was not making clear time and space to carry that vision. Before kids and Brett and I would spend hours a day by myself, right? It was go walking on the beach and journal. I'd listen to meditations. I tell you, I'm up early now. If I get in a workout, I'm lucky, and I fall in bed by 9. And most of that day is with people around me or my family, or, I'm getting shit done. I'm getting shit done. And I kind of just took for granted, oh yeah, I have a little quiet time at night and blah, blah, blah. And no, so going into this year, I'm making a whole self-care list and scheduling in that time again. And it's one of those things, we all should do. We know we should do. I tell clients to do it. I've got to really do that this year, because otherwise I realize I would default back into that busyness of the brain, the monkey brain. Hey, you have to make space for your magical place, or make a place for your space, or something like that. Gift number 4, this was interesting. One of our members shared that she actually had to learn to not feel guilty about doing so well this year. We said, really? Tell us more about that. She said, well, most of the other people in my industry had a really hard year. Our industry got shut down in many states. It was one of the first to get shut down. And by the way, I'm not sharing details because I didn't really get permission for them to share these things. So I'm giving you kind of insights without giving too much information. It was interesting to hear that about the guilt, that this woman in particular went from under 5 million to over 13 million. She still had a hard year, challenging year, moved her family, did all kinds of stuff, but never shared about the money until we kind of pried it out of her. And we're like, oh my gosh, that's just amazing. And, remember, when you have those lucky streaks, there's no such thing as actual luck. It's the hard work. It's the years of preparation that you put in. It's all the risks you've taken in years past. And it's interesting, women especially, when they do have that jackpot year, there can be some guilt around it. So if that happens, just, do some looking into where that's really, really coming from, and give yourselves the credit for those years where you made nothing and ate rice and beans and went into debt to get this off the ground. And everything you had to do that year is the payback. It is the payback year. Number 5, asking for personal support from other women. One of them shared this was a huge thing she had really learned to do this year. She'd never really done it before. Helping each other, reminding each other to give ourselves grace. We've handled so much this past year, so much, especially the women. And it does fall on us more. Even with help, even with amazing husbands, it falls on us more energetically, right? And heavier stuff requires more strength on your own or as a couple. I've had some very, I'd say, private conversations with clients this year about some of their marriages, the support they're getting, what they needed to ask for. The great thing about this year is that this probably was the year you had to ask for it. I did. And many of my clients did. Number 6, it was personal growth on steroids. One of our members shared. She just said, who I've become this year is worth it, every last bit of it. Gift number 7, it was a wake-up call to wellness with self-care, health, personal relationships. I mentioned before about our friends who had passed. There were several members who shared that they'd lost some people in their lives as well, that they realized that our health is so critically important. And if you're going to spend money, put some money into your health and invest in yourself and taking care of yourself and your family for your wellness and personal relationships. People we, may forget to reach out to. It may mean a lot to them, especially after this year. Gift number 8 is the enjoyment of life. One of our members shared she had a really tough year with an unexpected cancer situation that popped up. And she said, you know what? Got through this, had the surgery, still going through some bit of the tail end. But, I bought a damn convertible because it was time. It was time. And ladies, you've got to do something like that. I've seen too many people just wait and wait and wait to reward themselves until, it may be too late. I had a dear friend years ago who, she and her husband were very smart with their money, but to the point of being almost just kind of, the friends that are just almost ridiculous. And, they're parking 5 blocks away and walking through a bad area so they don't pay the $12 to valet and, and look, everything in moderation, right? So, they were saving and saving and saving and saving and saving to do these special things that she talked about for years. And then, within a few months, she gets cancer and dies. And as her husband was moving in to the dream apartment that they had finally just let themselves get. And, there's no right or wrong way to do these things, but we can't plan. We can't plan. So yes, we want to be smart about the future, but see, maybe there's something you need to do for yourself for getting through this year. That's my message to you. Number 9, this past year's disruption helped them make personal choices that previously they would not have allowed themselves. That's the important word there, allowed. For example, homeschooling. When I thought of homeschooling, if you asked me a few years ago, I would have thought of the Duggars, if you remember, were this family of 20 that all wore matching denim and they could only learn stuff that was in the Bible. Mountain people, right? Never came out. So I'm like, oh, that must be homeschooling. And this year we decided that because school was just going to be so weird, just to pull them out for several reasons. And at first there was this panic in how are we going to do this? We don't know what we're doing. I bought 10 books and dove into all this stuff. People are sending me links for online curriculums and blah, blah, blah. You know what we ended up doing? I'm going to maybe do a bonus show on this too. Let me know if you want to hear it. But I literally got some great workbooks off Amazon. They're awesome, that cover the core curriculum. So I know they're on track for their grade. And in fact, they blew through those. And now they're in the end of the 3rd grade book when they're in 2nd grade. And we're signing them up for great courses. Outschool.com is a great thing. We just created our own system. And it's very interesting that now here we are halfway through the year, and I'm so not even connected to the curriculum they're learning. I'm watching who they're becoming. I'm realizing they're learning so much through the conversations with us all day and seeing us work and the traveling we've been able to do and having that time together and conversations. And, it's been so different. It's not easy, but for us, it's been better. And it's what we need right now. Many parents don't have that option. And I know that's a reality, but if we're here working at home and we can do this, we're going to do it. And so it's been incredibly liberating because it's another system we've unplugged from. And many of the women in the trust are doing this as well. Some are doing it within their school programs. They may be within a set curriculum with their school district, or they may just be doing the online version of regular school because they can't go in person. But to some degree, everyone's handling this. And it's been so good to have these conversations. And then talking about, how those of us who decide to really pull them out, we would have never consciously made that decision a few years ago. It just wasn't convenient, right? But it forced us to make a choice. And many of us made that choice and are finding we actually really enjoy it. I'm saying that for now. Come next fall, I may have their lunches packed and be scooting them out the door. You ask me then. We'll see how it's going. That's the nice thing, ladies. None of these decisions need to be forever. We put so much weight on this stuff. I'm going to screw up their college career if I pull them out 2nd grade. Everyone needs to, you have enough to worry about right now. Okay. other big decisions that people put off. One of my clients decided, you know what, we're moving to a warmer climate. We've had it up here. We've realized we can set up the business to run. We'll fly back once a month. And I mean, they've set things up that they kind of thought, oh, wouldn't that be nice? Ha ha. And it's happening. Gift number 10, insisting on creating and operating from nothing less than our core values. 2020 helped us make choices for our businesses in exactly how we want to work, who to work with, and how we want to do business, and not the regular way. One of our members who has retail locations lost an employee who moved and started to search for a new one, but then thought, you know what if we just open that location 3 days a week and let people know that this is when we're open? And it was just this huge revelation that they didn't need to replace that person. They could save the money, and they liked just the Monday, Wednesday, Friday thing. So, again, these things we would have never thought of personally and business-wise that align with who we are and our core values. So if you're in transition, it's a great time to look at what are those values you hold very tightly for yourself and your family, and also for you and your business. If you need a list of values, you can just search for them online. There's all kinds of free resources on that. That helped me start getting ideas for the values for my company, the values for the trust. And also now we're going to work on our family values, which is really cool to decide as a family, like what are those key principles that we really stand for. Number 11, this was interesting, discovering how to make money in other ways besides our business. I have members learning more about real estate, investing in other assets. This is a game changer for so many women because we're used to earning income. Many of our members this past year have bought homes to turn into rental homes. They're flipping land deals. A few are obsessed with Bitcoin. That's an area I still don't get or understand, but it sounds amazing. And they're all helping each other gain a greater perspective on making our money work for us. This is what the guys have done for eons, right? Now we are in the position, our generations are in the position to do this ourselves. We need to think about money much differently. Gift number 12. This is my personal one, but it really was echoed on this call that I did with the members, and that is that all we have is the present moment. And I always hated that saying. It sounds like a Hallmark card. I'm like, I know. But really, the reason we have that and realize we have that is because you realize there's no way to plan. You can plan, you still should plan, but no, it could change in a second, right? In a second. And so the only moment you have right now is now. The now is 5D. Enjoy the now. Make plans for now while inviting new miracles and people into your life. The time is ripe for this. Like I mentioned before, the energy. Get clear on what you would like to ask for help with, who you'd like to meet, what would make you happy, what you could make happen. You will be supported by magic unseen. Please let me know which one or ones of these resonated with you. I'm mostly on Instagram. Allie Brown Official is my handle, but my team checks my accounts on all the platforms. I would just love to hear from you about this show. I know there's a lot of heavy stuff on here. I hope some of the gifts that we listed, there were some of those that really spoke to you. I really would love to hear, and that will be me engaging with you. I will be on there. Quick sneak preview of the next show, which is a Q&A, and also I'm going to go into some predictions, kind of raw stuff for what's happening this year. I'm going to be sharing first the clear indicators of the business resurge that will be happening in 2021. We're not sure when, but there are a few indicators that are going to be showing us, and I'll walk through those with you. Current and coming new business opportunities to take advantage of. Some of you will be in a great place to do this. A few words of caution, to be honest, in how I think you should be protecting yourself and your family this year. We aren't through the tunnel yet, but just things to look out for, especially if you are only tuned in to a lot of the mainstream narrative. I'll just say that, okay? But there's great opportunities in all this too, especially for those of you who are natural problem solvers and you're creative entrepreneurs. There's so much opportunity coming when you see what's about to be disrupted. And don't forget, I'll be answering your questions that were submitted to me on social. Watch for that to drop. I think in a few days. I'm not going to give you a specific date, but that will be coming, and pretty sure it's going to be the very next show. Okay. Until then, vibe high, my loves. I hope to see some of you at jointhetrust.org, and peace out. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Glambition Radio. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe so you automatically get my new shows every week. Also, I'd love if you left us a review so more women like you can discover us. We're on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora, and other major platforms. And I'd love to hear from you personally. Come join the conversation on social. Instagram is my happy place lately, and that's Allie Brown Official, but you can find links to my other platforms at alliebrown.com. Glambition Radio is the elevated conversation for women leaders, and I'm honored you tuned in.